Hi everyone and welcome back to a video with me, Shruti. Now in this video I want to speak about something that's actually really important, and it has to do with becoming our own spiritual gurus and teachers. Um, Recently what I found was when I was speaking to people, especially during this eclipse energies, um, a similar theme was coming up with everybody, and so I was guided to make this video. And what this has to do with is how we can still attach to some people outside of ourselves. Let's call them teachers for now, because people use different labels like guide, teacher. So we can attach to these teachers outside of ourselves and kind of rely on them for truth and healing and things like that. Whereas the truth is that any healing, which is actually integration, can only happen from within us, and it comes through our I am presence, because the path of self-mastery is all about the embodiment of our God spark, which is the I am presence. And so anyone who is sharing something that is not in this way and we'll get into that later how, because I'll be giving some examples. But any beings who are sharing in this way, they're not coming fully from the truth. And as for those of us who are actually interested in self-mastery, and we're not interested in, just this spirituality that is handed to the masses kind of in a more superficial way. But the actual process of soul embodiment and the embodiment of the I am presence, if you are actually interested in this and you are actually on this path, then discernment is really important, because we are not just physical beings, and so it's not just the food that you take in that's important. For example, the food, it nourishes our physical body, but the nourishment that you take in at all levels is important. So whatever you're listening to, maybe you're watching some videos or you're reading something spiritual online, it's important what you let into your energy field and what you accept as your truth. And when we actually have our inner truth detector activated, then any information that we are reading, whatever's coming our way, we're always able to kind of filter it through our own I am presence. So in this video, I'm going to be giving some examples of, the kind of videos or information that I've seen out there, how people share, that is not maybe fully of the light. And but these beings, sometimes they have mass followers. And what's important to know here is that I'm not making this video to point fingers at certain teachers, because everything serves its purpose. When I started to have my awakening a few years ago, I also found some of these videos, and some of them, maybe the techniques that they share or the information that they share, initially it can feel like it's helpful to us, but eventually when you start coming into your own, you see how it's not fully from the light of truth. So when you're actually moving into those levels of actual self-mastery, then you'll be guided to let go in this way. So a few days ago on my Facebook page, somebody commented and they asked me if I know of this healer. And I'm not gonna be sharing names on this in this video, because it's more about recognizing how people share and what's really going on behind the scenes, like coming back to the energy and being able to identify the energy that you're letting in, rather than just the words that are being shared on the surface. So it was this healer, and apparently what he does is, because I never even heard of him, but I looked him up, and what he does is he stands in front of people and just gazes at them through his eyes, and apparently there's these miraculous healings that happen. So immediately when I looked at this, I knew that this is not something I would ever be guided to do. or that I would recommend to anybody, because you have to understand that, healing is not something that can happen outside of you. First of all that healing is in higher truth is the process of integration, and it's the process of integration of our I am presence, our God spark. So any being that's, encouraging you to attach in external ways. So for example, they are present in front of you and you need them for that healing to happen. This is not from the truth, because it kind of encourages how you need to go outside of yourself, to become whole. Whereas, real guides and real masters who have actually done the work of self-mastery within themselves, they've gone through the process of I am embodiment themselves. All that they will do is guide you in a way to return back to yourself. So they will always share these things with you that help you with your own self-empowerment. They will give you these tools that you need in order to come into your own power, and it won't be about needing things from the external in this way. So for instance, there's this teacher, and he speaks about ascension, and I watched his video a couple of years ago, and what he was sharing was about how now he's a seventh dimensional being, and so he's sharing from that level. Then he said, I'm now an eighth dimensional being, and now I'm sharing from this level. And anybody who's actually going through the process of self-mastery, actually in truth, will never be guided to share like this, because it's when you share in this way, then the people who are watching you, they attach to these levels, like it's an exam, like there's all of these levels that you need to get to, and so this is why it's important for us to tune within and see that, when we're watching these people and they're speaking this way, it's not even about the words that they're using, but the energy behind it. See how it makes you feel. Does it make you feel empowered, or does it make you feel like, wow, there's this power that somebody else is reflecting, and but I don't have it, so now I constantly need to watch them, and you start to kind of idolize them in this way. Because also what this teacher was sharing was something that was completely not from the truth, was about how, I think it was September 2015, and he said that the first wave of ascension, all of the beings who are a part of the first wave of ascension, they will move into the frequency of divine love, the fifth dimensional frequencies, by that date. And I leave it up to you. Ask yourself if this is really something that comes from truth, because basically what they're saying is that no matter what you're choosing in your everyday life, whether you're choosing love or fear or anything, that just because you're the first wave of ascension, you will move into a certain level of vibration. So I know that for myself, through my own I am presence, I know that we all of us have free will. So we have to make the proper choices along our self-mastery, and nothing happens unless we actually make those choices. And so, somebody who's just telling you that something will happen no matter what you do, it doesn't matter, then ask yourself if this is really empowering, or is, when it goes out to a mass number of people, this kind of a message, because many of them, they attach in this way, to teachers, instead of actually doing the work of self-mastery, within themselves, then, it just encourages that. So, again, this is not of the light. And another example is this female teacher, for example, who also shares on Ascension, or she shares a lot about healing and shadow work. But again, with this being, maybe they're, again, in their videos, they're speaking about these methods that can be, these techniques that can be helpful for us to go within ourselves. And actually, it's these methods, they're ancient, they've been around, but then they also have this, what they like to do is they like to go out of body, and then they speak about how they go out of body, and they observe these different realms, and they answer these questions directly when people ask. So for example, if their student asks them, what is the eighth dimension about, then they say, oh, I went out of body, and this is what I observed. And when I went out of body, I was one with source, and this is what I observed. And any true master, never answers these questions directly, because first of all, in our physical body, we are not supposed to have this knowledge of how every dimension is, you see, because when spirit is working through us, it works with our own light. So we all have these specific tasks, this specific mission to fulfill, and that is where our fulfillment lies. This way of attaching to knowledge and just the need to know everything is actually a lower form. It comes from the lower mind, and this is not how ascension happens. Ascension is not about the gathering of knowledge. That knowledge flows to you already, in an innate way, through your own I am presence, through synchronicities. It will come to you once you go through the heart initiation first. So when you open up in heart and you actually go through that experience of choosing love and that process of death, and embracing something new, the cycles of death and rebirth, then, we move into that frequency of divine love. And that is when the wisdom pours in. So these beings, they are tapping into these realms of the astral, which is the lower fourth dimensional realms, and they haven't yet opened up to the fifth dimensional frequencies, which is the activation of the higher heart. So when these entities, they provide this information to them, it's manipulative, and they're not discerning, so they don't know what is truth, what is not truth. So if somebody shows them in the astral realms, that they're, let's say they're sitting in meditation and they're shown these visions of, now you have moved into this realm, now you have integrated this level, then they just believe that, and then that's what they put out. So this is something that we need to be that we need to know within ourselves. And also, when somebody speaks a lot about going out of body, ask yourself this question, that if you chose to be in a physical body at this time, why would your mission be to keep going out of body? Because the path of ascension is about bringing our consciousness in the physical vessel, and activating that source point field and always living in source in the physical body. Then why would you need to constantly become ungrounded and move out of the body? So these are important questions. You have to know, you have to ask yourself these questions and see, this is how you know whether something is coming from truth or not. And then the last example that I want to also give you is, there's this other guide, for example, they call themselves maybe an ascension guide, and instead of like a teacher. And again, we can be fooled by this, because we think, okay, so they're not teachers, so they're not feeding me with information. They call themselves guides, and they even use these terms like higher heart and the I am presence, the embodiment, and maybe they they use these terms that are related to ascension and the anchoring of higher light, and they even talk about the source point field and the 0 point field. But just because they're using certain words, or they're describing a certain meditation, again, it doesn't mean that it's flowing from love. So we have to ask ourselves how it makes us feel. Just because somebody is, let's say, living in Mount Shasta and describing how the new energies are coming in, it doesn't mean that they themselves have moved into that space of divine love. when something flows from love, from divine love, it comes in a very simple way. And so, the people who have actually integrated this level, usually they're very simple, and the guidance that they give will be very simple as well. And it will ground you in the moment. It won't make you feel like, wow, this being has so much power and they are the avatar, or, they have all the knowledge and the power, but it's not within me. And then you don't know how to activate it from within you. Any true master, any true guide who has actually activated these levels of divine love, and the I am presence, they will be sharing in a way to redirect you back to yourself, so that you know from within yourself what the truth is. And it will be very simple. It won't have so much technicality to it, necessarily. And you just know by how you feel, because you'll be anchored and grounded in the now. So I hope that some of these examples were helpful for us to become more discerning in our ascension. And it's not really important, how much we watch and how much we read out there. What's most important is that whatever we take in, that we always work with our I am presence. And this is how we actually anchor the I am presence as well, is that, any experience that we have, we fully open the heart to it. And, we allow ourselves to feel in the heart how this feels, how this experience feels. And this has to do with being present in the moment. And when you are present in the moment with something, fully present, then it will show you the frequency, what it feels like, whether it's fear or whether it's love, whether it's coming from truth or whether it's coming from manipulation. And the more and more that we become attuned to how something feels in the heart space, this is our gateway to ascension, and this is the opening of the higher heart. So I hope that this video was helpful, and I hope to see you soon in some more. That's it from me. I'll see you next time.